Hello. Stand by. I'm posting, just making sure people know about the webinar. Hello, and welcome to the post-conversation, to the post-webinar conversation. You'll see you can post some questions over there. Well, right now it's just me. Okay. But yeah, I'd love to take questions for a little bit. Had some technical difficulties getting everything going, but hopefully a little bit later on this week. It's the nature of the webinar business. I understand that sometimes you just hit glitches right when you're getting ready to go live. So be curious and glad to see what kind of questions you may have after watching A Living Prayer. And like I said, remember, you can, there's a link over there where you can post questions. I don't know where it is on your screen, but that's where it is on my screen if you have questions that you'd like to ask. It was a bit harrowing trying to get all of this content done. It's something new that I'm trying to do with this whole project, to be able to go a little bit longer, to provide more long-form content, you know, beyond just the Facebook post of the day. Hello, and welcome to the post-webinar chat. Anxious to see what many of you are taking out of the webinar, what you thought, and what kind of questions you might have. Oh, so you do, and what kind of questions? How are you going to ask me questions? There should be a little window over there where you can ask questions or just share your insights. This is my first time really using Google Hangouts on air, so I don't know if everybody that is on the chat can see it all at the same time. But whatever questions or comments that you post, you know, I'll share them as best I can. I'm really anxious to, you know, hear from you and see what kind of insights opened up for you, or what insights you have for me. One thing that I always say about this project is something that happened in the divine wisdom of the writing of the book, was that God pretty explicitly said you don't have to, you know, agree. You're not required to agree with the content. And to me, that creates a very open kind of conversation. It just lays the information out for us to, you know, either use as guidance. And I'll be the first one to tell anyone when it comes to anything you see posted on the page, whether it's video content like this, the Facebook post of the day that we do on a message from God on Facebook, or the, you know, even the book itself. You should pray on whatever it is you come across. That doesn't just go for this project or any of the associated projects with it. It also goes for anything you read in the Bible, anything you see on the news, any song. We should develop a habit of going to the Lord, going to God in prayer, and asking God to help us make sense of the things that we come across in our world. And a biggest part of that is, you know, developing a personal relationship with God where your ear gets tuned to what it is God has for you. I don't, I'm not a person that believes that everybody has to see things exactly the same way. If that were the case, then there'd be no me and there'd be no you. We don't have to agree on everything, because many of us are going to see things differently and see things in different ways. However, that doesn't mean we can't do it with love. And it doesn't mean that one of us is wrong. It just means that God showed us something else. So if you're just getting here, and you'll forgive me, this is honestly my first time doing a Google Hangout on air. I think I'm going to do more of them. I think these can become very handy for doing kind of prayer sessions. Let me know what you think of that. There's a somewhere on your screen right there, you should see a place where you can type in or ask a question. And I would look forward to taking any questions or comments or feedback, anything that God showed you that I may have missed. I'm anxious to hear what your thoughts were out of today's webinar. So while some of those questions are coming in, I'm going to jump over for just a second and see what's going on the Facebook page. And like I said, if you see questions over there to the right, I believe that's the area where you can post a question, then by all means, go ahead and do that, and I will do my best to answer them. Let's see. So it looks like we got 9 people there. Hey, Martisa and Madeline. I hope I pronounced your name right. Cindy, Graylin, Quentin, and Connie. Good to see you all. Good to see you all here. Like I said, make sure you you know, take a moment to post a question over to the right, and I'll answer it as best I can. I gotta admit, Google Hangout looks pretty cool. I have not used it before, but I'm anxious to kind of get into it because it looks like it can do some really, really cool things. So here's a thought for those of you that are tuning in still. What do you think of using this to do like a prayer of the day type of thing, or prayer of the week? It's a lot of people. I get contacted on the Facebook page a lot. A lot of people looking for prayer, needing prayer, and I've been trying to figure out the best way of, really doing that. So let me know what you think. Hey, Deborah, how are you? I'm glad you're here as well. I'm curious to know what you think. Did you get a chance to watch the whole webinar all the way through? Okay, I agree, Zana. Zana just texted or posted that if we were to offer a regular prayer service, and have to kind of figure out the logistics of it. I'd want it to be something that, worked for everyone's schedule. But yeah, I'm certainly down for the idea of offering, a prayer moment over the course of, a schedule, a week, a day. We'll see if we can work that out. Oh my. Question from Scott. Scott Rancourt. Scott asks, "What is my favorite psalm?" I have a few of those. Obviously, the 23rd Psalm is one that everyone seems to know. But here's how I'm going to answer that question, and I really want to do a. Let me know what you think of this. I might do another event on this. Everyone knows the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. Making me to lie down in green pastures, lead me beside still waters, etc. But have you ever read the 22nd Psalm? That's the Psalm before the 23rd. It is significantly longer than the 23rd Psalm, and to me, it's kind of like providing context, for everything that maybe is happening in the 23rd Psalm. There's a lot. I don't know it inside out, but in the 22nd Psalm, basically the psalmist is expressing how everything is going wrong in their life. Enemies are out to get them. They don't have food. There's war. Their wife is sick. Some of that I'm kind of embellishing, but the point is that everything is going absolutely wrong in the psalmist's life. Now, I've read a lot of books. I have read through the Bible, different chunks of it. I'm not a theologian. I'm not a Bible scholar, but so I'd say that to say I don't know which of the psalmists actually wrote the 22nd Psalm. It's a good chance that it was written by David. But in any case, I like the idea of taking the 22nd Psalm, which if you ever go back and read it and then read the 23rd Psalm, it gives you a different perspective on the 23rd Psalm. It's, to borrow a pop culture reference, if the first 3 Star Wars movies, I'm using Star Wars in this, that's hilarious. If the first 3 Star Wars movies, and I'm talking about the ones from the 70s and early 80s, were about Luke Skywalker, and we already meet Darth Vader. There was a story before that that we saw in the next batch of movies that came out, how things got to that point, and it added a different perspective on the character. So in much the same way, I'm curious about the 22nd Psalm, and I intend to do a lot more study into that, and to really see if maybe we can do some kind of in-depth look at that. I want to thank Scott for that question. That's a good question, man. Thank you. Let's see. Oh, so yeah, Zana had added that she liked the idea of a, ongoing prayer, as did Deborah. And cool. Hi, Joan. Joan, thank you for your feedback. Joan says, she said, thanks for the suggestions about subconscious programming and how to attempt to positively affect your subconscious messages. There are, my studies, and one of the things that we'll see as time, goes on as this project continues to grow, is I'm a firm believer that a lot of times we tend to break off knowledge in different parts of knowledge. So you have Bible knowledge, you have science knowledge, you have history, you have physics, you have chemistry, and very seldom do we take a piece of information here and a piece of information here and a piece of information here. Very seldom do we really look and erase the lines between those and look and see how all of it comes together as one. So I say that to say that, we don't typically look at, or it's not common, I think, to look through the same lens at prayer, which is obviously, a spiritual thing, and look at the subconscious mind and how to influence it. That's more of a psychological, mental thing. But who says there has to be a line drawn between these two things? So I believe that, we can, you can be interested in science, you can be interested in history and chemistry, and you can also be interested in developing a closer relationship with God. And if God is the singular force behind everything that happens, then really the only differences are the ones that we create in our own mind. God is the master chemist. God is the master physicist, the master mechanic, the master creator, obviously. And so when I look at things like the subconscious mind and chemistry, quantum physics, all of that, I'm looking at how my understanding of God grows by looking at things like science and history and all of that, sociology, psychology, through a lens of spirituality. And that is a big part of what's opened up a lot of understanding for me. And, I understand it doesn't work for everybody, but hopefully that gives you a little bit more insight into how my brain works. Let's see. So that question was from Joan. Another question from Scott. Scott says his wife has a question. How do I decide what message from God I send out every day? When I started writing those quotes, when I start writing those lines that appear on the Facebook page, usually God is dealing with me on something. And I've been through a very, very difficult divorce, a lot of pain and anguish, and that's where a lot of those posts kind of come out of. But I knew that I wasn't the only one that was dealing with, issues of pain, uh, of being separated, of feeling abandoned, of needing to forgive, needing to be forgiven, whatever it is. And so um, God would give me kind of would take my experience, give me the right words to make it where people can, where it can touch, somebody else. And that, I think, is the beauty of this whole project, that it can start with where you are. And, you read a line that's, on the Facebook page or even in the entire ebook. Then what happens is the God that's inside you, the Christ that lives already inside you, when something from the outside hits that, then there's a new creation. There's a new insight that opens up that is specifically for you. And so that's why I think these messages tend to touch people in the ways they touch them, because somebody might be dealing with, I was dealing with the loss of a marriage. Somebody may be dealing with the loss of a loved one. Somebody may be dealing with the loss of a job. But at the heart of it, we're all dealing with loss. And God can speak to that and touch that and heal it in whatever way God can. So I just kind of, to answer your question, Scott, the best answer I can give is I just kind of trust God in the moment when I'm in my private time and meditating and thinking about, what God has for me. I just try my best to be a clean vessel and let God use me in that way. Thank you. Good questions. Love it, love it. From Zana. And let me see if I can understand your question. She says, so glad to see something positive being taught, especially when it is getting closer to our Savior. He is, I am. You got that right. Thank you for your kind words. It's a sometimes on the Facebook page I get feedback from people that saying I'm a false prophet and that this is not biblical teaching, that it's not that this is the kind of teaching that could lead people astray, which believe it or not doesn't really bother me. It's not one of the things that I got clear on very early in this calling to be a messenger, if you will, is that it's not, my responsibility as a messenger is to be as clear and as clean as I can be so that the message comes through as clearly as possible. How that message lands on the recipient is really between that person and God. And I will tell anybody that, you are to not take this project at face value. You are to go and pray on it, meditate on it, and whatever God reveals to you, you should go with. Even if God says, run, flee, get away from this thing as fast as possible. If that's what God says you should do, by all means, you should do that. And I'm the first one to say that. So there are a lot of other projects that talk about, things that a lot of other websites that might talk about, how to, about, the end of days and, who's going to hell and who's not, and which religion is what, and all of that. And I get that. That's, we all come from different backgrounds. We all have different understandings of God. I'm one that doesn't believe that one is better than the other. And, but I do believe that this project, as it was given to me, was to be about love. It's to be about peace. It's to be about understanding. And and inclusion and cooperation. There's nothing, I mean, you know, I don't, you know, everything that I have come to understand about Jesus' teaching is that we are supposed to get along. Whoever it is, what I get out of when God says, when Jesus says, as you do unto the least of these, you do also unto me. It's a safe bet that at the time when he said that, he was referring to the poorest people in the society, the people that everybody else looked down on, which I believe is still valid. Even if that was all he meant, there is still enormous power in that. But what else I took from it was whoever you would consider to be the least among these. In other words, that person you don't like, that person that you don't think is going to make it, that person you think isn't worthy of, you know, of being treated as well as Jesus, you need to treat that person as Jesus because that's what Jesus said to do. So in that regard, you know, this project, like I said, is about love. It's about inclusion. It's about being positive. You know, if you want more teaching about, you know, who's going to hell and all of that, I mean, there's plenty of that out there. And that's not the message that I was given to share yet. I'm still open to, you know, whatever God may have for me. But this is a page and a project that's meant to bring people together. And it's done that. There are people on this page who are traditional Christians. There are Muslims who participate in this project. There are Buddhists and people from all different walks of life, from all over the world. In the United States, huge following in the Philippines. If you're watching in the Philippines, God bless. Africa, Saudi Arabia, you know, parts of Europe and Russia. I mean, you know, there are people from all different walks of life who are drawn to this project. And, you know, why? I think because it's all about love. And so that's what I hope. That's good. Good. Scott says, I was dealing. Wow. Is it? I'm reading Scott's remark dealing with loss last month, and says that the messages were on point and inspirational. And man, thank you to you and your wife for being here. You know, I just, it's been a very humbling process, and to be a part of what's happening through this project. You know, it started, the ebook started as something that was given to me. Then the Facebook page started to do what it started to do, and it started to touch people's lives. And, you know, I'm grateful for that. You can't put a price tag on what you just wrote to me, Scott. And I see messages like that, you know, more or less every day. And, you know, the only thing I can think to do is to quote Jesus, who says, you know, it's not I, but the Father inside me who does the work. I don't want any credit for me personally out of this. I don't. That's not important to me. One thing that I do want is any mistakes. I mean, anything that any celebrity will just say, you know, if I gain any notoriety out of this, I just want God to give me the wisdom and the influence to use it to help make the world a better place. You know, if I can take this project and we can feed a few million people, how awesome would that be? And I'm talking about not just me, but, you know, we have built so far, going on, I mean, just on the Facebook page, almost 750,000 people worldwide who are paying attention to this. And, and looking at it. And that is a powerful number. It's God's telling me I'll look back on when it was only 750,000. And but when we have that kind of those kind of people thinking the same way, that in those numbers, we can do some miracles. And trust me, miracles are on tap. There's a workshop coming on how to do miracles. Stay tuned. Thanks, God. God bless you. Zana, thank you. Zana says your questions are being answered, Doc. Wow. Thank you much for that. Thank you for being here. So, Google Hangouts, good chance to interact and chat and really just kind of catch up, let you inside of this project and see how we can create this community around the world of people who are less interested in whose religion is right or wrong and more interested in love. I do believe that even if Jesus and Muhammad of Islam wouldn't necessarily agree on everything, I do believe both men would be quite capable of loving each other and loving each other's followers. I have no way of knowing that, but it feels right. So it's about 4:05 now. I'll stick around for a few more minutes. I'll take probably 2 more questions if any of you have them. But it's good to hang out with you here. And real quick, I do want to tell you more about part 2 of of a living prayer that's coming up. I just simply, I was trying to get so much information in, and get it all included that, some computer glitches happen. My computer's not fast enough to keep up with what I was trying to create. But I am continuing to work on the second part of the webinar. Hopefully it'll be available soon. And as in, I'm going to work furiously on it for the next couple of days, and hopefully I'll have it available and have any other technical glitches worked out by Tuesday. So that is the plan, and hopefully we'll be able to get that live. I want to thank again you who are watching, who are tuned into this. It's good to have you here, and I'm going to see if we can do more of these going forward, up to and including maybe a regularly scheduled prayer time. I think there's a lot to be said for that. Let's take a moment to breathe. Let's see. Let's do a quick roll call. Zana and Scott, I know you were there. Also, I want to say Helen. If you are still there, just kind of take a moment to post your, just post that you're still here. And we'll take a minute as I get ready to wrap up, and we'll just go to the Lord in prayer. How's that sound? Sounds good? Okay, I'm gonna wrap up. If you would, just take a moment in part 1. Hey, Deborah. Glad you're here. In part one of the webinar, and I'll leave it up for a little while longer. I may take it down, make a few more tweaks to it, but in part one of the webinar, I closed out with the simplest prayer ever. And I think there's a lot of power in that. Just when you're not focused on anything other than being connected to God. You're not asking for anything, you're not thanking for anything. It is a pure state of being. I have taken to, I don't do it all the time, but I do want wherever you are, unless of course unless you're driving, don't take your hands off the wheel if you're driving, but if you're driving, you shouldn't be watching video anyway. But take a moment where you are and just kind of cross your hands over your chest. Close your eyes. And let's just go to the Lord in prayer for a moment. Just a few deep breaths. Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord. We just, like I always say, Lord, we thank you for that breath, Lord. It's been hundreds before, there'll be hundreds after it by your grace, Lord, but we don't always pay attention to them. We don't always thank you for them. So in this breath, Lord, I say, thank you. Lord, I thank you for the air I breathe, the water I drink, the meal that I had today. Lord, thank you for granting me the opportunity to go and worship today and to see my mother, and fellowship with her at church one more day, and to be a vessel today, Lord. Thank you for using me in this way. Thank you for blessing me with, a gift with words and a way of connecting with people. And thank you for giving me the right words and thoughts to help people hear you better, Lord. Lord, I thank you for the word that you gave us in a living prayer, today's webinar, the part that people have seen, part one, and also part two, which is on the way, Lord. I hope and pray that, it can touch some lives and show people how to draw a better connection with you. Lord, I thank you for every single person that's been drawn to this project, the people that have read, that are following and continue to follow on Facebook, the people who are tuned in to this broadcast on air right now, Lord. Thank you for them, for the way that they have blessed me with their presence today. And Lord, I just ask a blessing that you watch over them, that you whisper into their ears, that they can hear you better and attune their ears enough to not only hear what you have to say, Lord, but to act on it fearlessly, boldly, even when they're not sure of why they're doing it, Lord. That's why they call it faith. So, Lord, we thank you for strong faith. And now, as we prepare to just part ways in the body, Lord, we just stay present in the spirit. We stay present with you. And since we know you are everywhere, we know you are present with all of us, and we are present with each other. Even if there are miles between us, we know that in you there is no distance whatsoever. And so we thank you. We give you honor and praise and all glory in Christ's name. Amen. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful remainder of the day. Go make a difference in your own life and in someone else's. Go show some love today. God bless.